Okay, so today we're going to look at the color wheel and how you can use this as a tool for making art at home. So the color wheel is here, and then this kind of shows us how to decode it. So we have primary colors, analogous, which are sort of the same scheme, and complementary. Complementary is probably the most important one to remember because these colors will always bounce off of each other and they're the opposite, the direct opposite of that color on the color wheel. So green is going to contrast really well with red. Blue is going to contrast well with orange. Purple is going to contrast really well also with the shade of green there. These are the purpley pinks. So I'm going to look at some of these artworks and then we'll see how they also follow rules of the color wheel. So here we have blue and red and a lot of greens and yellows. I really see how the red and the green are communicating with each other, and the blue-green, sort of the shade that can still communicate with that red. Same thing here, really seeing this green and this red wrapping around each other. And shades of brown, I would say. So the blue kind of contrasts with that brown, and then the red is contrasting with the green. And same on the color wheel, green contrasting with red, blue contrasting with sort of this orange, or what could be looked at as even a shade of brown. If you go into the color wheel, then you can see how different hues, tints, and shades can also transform these colors. So this is much more primary. Anytime you have the primary colors, they can sometimes be flatter if you just paint them with this one tone. But I'm seeing the yellow and the blue, which also makes me think of Van Gogh's Starry Night and how those colors communicate with each other. And here we really see the green communicating with sort of an orange. And even though orange isn't red, it's sort of the same color scheme. So you could take this sort of orangey red and contrast it with a different hue of green to get those colors that bounce off of each other. Again, we have red and sort of a lime green, the blue contrasting with the brown. Again, we have blues and sort of yellows bouncing off of each other. Another kind of starry night scheme. This one is really powerful. You can see the oranges and yellows and really some blues and pinks there as well. And you can really see how the blue and the orange, just like the color wheel, are communicating with each other. Yeah, so then same thing, yellows and blues, very popular to go together. Yellows and blues. So a lot of times I pay attention to these famous paintings because they also really help guide my own artwork. And yellow and pink, the outfits, are the same way that yellow and shades of pink can bounce off of the color wheel here. And this is going to be more lighter, so you look at this and you'd see that it was more of a tint. But you can really see those greens and the browns. And basically it's like this green is lighter and it's sort of taking on an orangey brown, and those two are bouncing off of each other. So here you can see the yellows, the red and green communicating to each other, yellow and pink communicating to each other, orange and the orange hair and the green, just like a shade of red and green, the blue bouncing off of sort of the browny orange. green and orange, just like a shade of red bouncing off of each other. Greens bouncing off this orangey red, blues bouncing off of the brown, pinks bouncing off the yellow. And you can see this red, just a slight red, is bouncing off of this green. So if you think that your artwork could be missing something, it's a good way to just, let's say you were almost finished and you think, what could I add? What would give this some life? Putting in this red automatically vibrant, makes the whole painting more vibrant, especially the way the pinks go with the yellows as well, and how you just have a slight sliver of color there. Again, we see evidence of the primaries, blue, reds, yellows. This is just like an analogous one shade that is using different tones to create depth and light. Beautiful green and yellowy pinks with sort of like this purple, and the purple goes with the yellow here, and then the green. This is like a light green, so it's almost going with those pinky brown tones. Red, that orangey red, almost like a pinky red, communicating with the yellow and the green. This is very soft, but it's almost like, I would say, a soft green and sort of like a very soft amber. And then you can sort of see the way those pink lips communicate with the yellow of the instrument. Green communicating with red. Green communicating with like a red-brown with brown and blue. And I think that's it. So just when you're looking around and even looking at cereal boxes, chips, music videos, you can really see how these colors play with each other. You can look up this wheel at any moment. When you're going through your art and you're thinking about background and characters, think about how each color reflects off of the other one and what power that can give you. Do you want it to be really comic booky? Do you want it to be sort of like all one shade? Do you want it to have this retro look? Do you want that bouncing effect? Or do you sort of want it to be less obvious and use sort of like a secondary or intermediate shade? All right, so just some things to think about. Color is always fun, and it really does make you think about the world differently.